What's going on, people? Welcome to an Emotion Football live stream today. We have a brand new kind of live stream. We got a news update. We're going to be ripping through all the news in the NFL. It's been a pretty eventful couple of days. Free agency starts this time next week. The tampering window opens in about 5 days. So, in preparation for the new league year happening, there's all kinds of drama, all kinds of transactions, all kinds of big decisions. So, we're going to go through all the ones that I thought stood out. Before I get into that, shout out to the 5 people watching live. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this after the fact on replay, you have the same opportunity to support the content. Likes and subscriptions, both very important for the growth of a YouTube channel. So with the logistics out of the way, I see Sai is in here. Like Sai says, big up, run the likes. Good to see you in here, Sai. Brock, what's going on, family? We're in here. Did you see Diamador Lenore's comments on JSN? Pretty funny stuff. But yeah, with the formalities out of the way, we're gonna get right into the news, people. So we're gonna start off with, you know what? I'm just gonna start off with the Eagles. Why not? So the Eagles decided to pay Saquon Barkley, pay Zach Baun, and cut Darius Slay, as well as James Bradbury. But Bradbury didn't play last year, so he didn't need to be on the banner. Okay, what's worth talking about here? The big thing worth talking about is the fact that the Eagles made strongly departed from the idea that you don't have to pay linebackers or running backs, which is good because I think that means that they're learning from their mistakes. They're adjusting to what they see. Right? It's one thing to say that paying these positions isn't important, but when you see what happens on a football field and you watch this team play last year and you see how important Zach Baun and Saquon Barkley were to the Eagles, it would be absolutely idiotic to not think that they need to be players you have to keep. So I'm just happy to see the fact that the ideology is evolving. I hate rigid thinkers. That's the wrong way to put it. I respect the people who are actually flexible and continue to learn and grow. And it looks like Howie Roseman is continuing to learn and grow from his experiences. So that's a really good thing to see. It's a 3-year, $51 million contract, as Sai has put in the chat. Moving dangerous, they need to stop. Okay, so here's the big thing, right? So they paid Zach Baun $17 million a year. That is fourth on the linebacker contracts because Roquan, Fred Warner, and Terrell Edmonds of the Bears, or Tremaine Edmonds. Yeah, Tremaine Edmonds. They all have bigger contracts than him. So as the fourth highest paid linebacker, I think that's a very fair contract. So that's definitely cool. Saquon Barkley got paid as the highest paid running back ever. These are pretty sizable deals. I think what a lot of people are going to say is, how are the Philadelphia Eagles paying all these people, right? You got A.J. Brown under contract, Devontae under contract, Jalen, Saquon, the whole offensive line except the center and the right guard. You got C.J. Gardner-Johnson, now Zach Baun. There's a decent amount of contracts out there. So how are all these players getting paid? Something I'm going to tell you now, people who are Eagles fans probably know this. People who aren't Eagles fans are probably going to learn something from this. A really interesting thing that the Eagles do is, they put their money as far into the future as they can. And the thinking there is that, one, obviously you don't have to pay for it now. But the thing is like they keep doing it. So for example, we still have money for Jason Kelce on the contract this upcoming year, right? There's, I think, Fletcher Cox as well. And the idea is that if we pay Saquon Barkley, let's say $13 million this year, it's in a salary cap of, $280 million. If we can't give him his $13 million in 2 years, when the salary cap is $300, that same $13 million takes up a smaller amount of the salary cap. The idea is it's almost like you think about like a business thinking, factoring in inflation. Like, because the salary cap inflates, paying people in the future basically gives you better bang for your buck. It's a practice the Eagles are very aggressive about. And essentially what it is it's a bet that the players that you do this type of stuff with is that they're players that are going to be good. They're players that you are going to be able to have for the duration of their contract, playing at a high level, but also, more importantly, players that you can extend. So I mentioned this when I was doing breaking down the Eagles offseason. The issue, just because we have a very expensive team, it doesn't mean that we won't spend. What it means is we can only really spend on players that we think are very important pieces. So Saquon Barkley, you can see, very important part of our team. Zach Baun, very important part of the team. no expenses will be spared to keep them on the team. However, Darius Slay, he does not count in that anymore because he's 35 years old or 34. He's a very old cornerback. We have 2 first-round picks at his not 2 first-round picks, 2 high-round picks at his position. We could not do this with Darius Slay because it doesn't make sense to push his money 3 years into the future. He's only going to be here for 1 year. So this is the thing. It's definitely dangerous, but if you win, it's worth it because we know one day we're going to be a bad team because of this. As long as we win up until then, I think everybody will be happy with the outcome. Baun's versatility to play both inside and outside positions offers and with his leadership and experience, especially as a Super Bowl champion. Definitely. And he's just like, he seems like a all around good person to have. You know, he's going to be 29 this year. But yeah, he hasn't played that much football because New Orleans never used to play him. This is his first year playing linebacker too. So you think about it. Do you think that he's going to give his best year ever at a position the first year he plays it? There's a chance he could be even better. So yeah, no, it makes sense to pay Barkley. It makes sense to pay Baun. But this is the reason why it's happening and not Darius Slay, is that these are players that it makes sense to push their payment into the future because they're going to be here for 2 to 3 years. Darius Slay, that's not going to be the case. And this is why I think when you think about the money they're going to spend from this point onwards, you have to think about, is this a player that can be really good and contribute to winning Super Bowls for 2 to 3 years? If the answer is no, they're not going to pay them. So the thing about Josh Sweat and Milton Williams is I think their numbers are going to be so high, even though they both fit what I just said. If you're going to fork out that much money for them, you may as well fork out money for somebody better. Like that's where the whole Myles Garrett or Khalil Mack thing comes in. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles showed that they're willing to spend. I don't know if you guys are that interested, but this is actually something that I've been following very closely for a long time. I can do a whole stream explaining the Eagles' finances and why they're unique and special to the rest of the league, because it is really genuinely interesting what they do. That being said, I'm sure most people don't care about that kind of stuff. But yeah, Darius Slay is cut. I'm just going to touch on that before I move on to the next topic. Darius Slay started at outside corner last year, played fairly good football. But the thing with Slay is that he missed a decent amount of time, not in games missed, but he had a bunch of games where he would leave for 2 quarters and then come back. So in a weird way, we had to play other players like his backups a lot last year. Big up to you, Prime. Good to see you. So for that reason, like we almost got used to playing without Slay. The main guy that played was Isaiah Rodgers. I would not be surprised if he's the guy that gets paid. We also have Kelee Ringo, 2-time national champion at Georgia. So there's a couple options for what we could do. I don't expect us to bring Slay back. They talked about how he could return if he doesn't get big offers in free agency. But like I said, he missed a lot of time last year. He's probably going to miss time again next year. I think we can just rip the Band-Aid off, sign Isaiah Rodgers. We let there be a competition between Rodgers and Ringo, and that could be the starting outside corner aside from Quinion Mitchell. But yeah, Slay's cut. They paid 2 cornerstones. And as for what I expect from the Eagles going forward in free agency, I think they're going to be making small signings or huge signings. I don't think there's going to be much in the middle. You're either going to see them get like for example, at edge rusher, it's probably going to be like Myles Garrett, and if not, like we're probably going to draft somebody in the first round and have a contract for $2 to $3 million in free agency compete with him. It might even be Brandon Graham. So this is what I expect from free agency. We're going to move past the Eagles, though. We got the Seattle Seahawks, who made a flurry of moves the last couple days. So DK Metcalf requested a trade. They cut Tyler Lockett, and then they cut 5 more players. So the other 5 players they cut, you guys can look up the names. I don't think either the individuals stand out, but the bigger thing is that they cut this high volume of players. What that means is they wanted to get a whole bunch of money off their books. And if that's the case, they have an ambitious plan to spend money. And that lines up. If you guys watched my off-season preview series, you know that I talked about the Seahawks, they were a team that were primed to have a big offseason. They had an opportunity to build, to grow, to get better. I expected that from them. Like I said, they don't have a ton of guaranteed money on their books. I thought that Mike Macdonald didn't have his pieces defensively. I thought their offensive coaching was lacking, which is why they had to get a new offensive coach. So yeah, they they replaced the offensive coach. I'm assuming they freed up this money to get McDonald some pieces defensively. Yeah, I think they're going to really change how they look as a team. And I think, like, look, they cut Lockett. They know they're going to trade DK. They're going to probably pivot to JSN and a young receiver next year. I'm assuming that they're going to spend the money on the offensive line and the defense. I actually think that if you're going to come back with Geno Smith next year, there's no way you're going to be a throw the football kind of a team. It makes no sense at all. You better be a running football team. Like, I think that type of facelift to the organization makes sense. Pivot towards the defense, pivot towards running the ball. Those two things complement each other. Pivot towards Geno Smith throwing the football less. That justifies parting with Lockett and DK in the same offseason, because that is a massive, massive shift. What's up, King? Good to see you, bro. You haven't missed much, bro. I just went over Eagle stuff, and I'm sure you know how that goes, bro. Just me talking a whole lot of shit. But yeah, we're talking about the Seahawks right now. Yeah, I think it would make a lot of sense for them to pivot to being a defensive rushing kind of a team. From a lot of different standpoints. But if they're going to spend money, get Mike Macdonald his pieces. You saw how things changed once he got Roquan Smith in Baltimore. He started out not having the horses, eventually got the horses, and the Ravens defense ended up being amazing. In Seattle, I don't think he had his pieces. If you get him his pieces, I do think he'll have a pretty good defense. But yeah, offensively, the interior of the line was lacking. No, I lied. The line generally was lacking. You have Charbonneau and you have what's his name? K9, the running back. You could easily draft a receiver and not worry about any of the other receiver losses. Become a rushing football team. Be the old Seahawks. Play defense, run the shit out of the ball, and be opportunistic in the passing attack. Wait, who is this? I'm unfamiliar. George Holani. Why does that sound like a draft name? I didn't know that there was a football player with that name. George Holani. Oh, it's in the draft. Oh, no, he's on the Seahawks. Hold on. This guy's on the Seahawks. No? Yeah. Nah, I think they're going to run the shit out of the ball next year, man. That's the only thing that makes sense. As for the specific pieces they're losing, Lockett, it is what it is. I imagine that they didn't want to give, like, I think with both these receivers, I don't think they wanted to pay either of them. They were probably both getting towards the end of their contracts. I know DK was for sure. I'm sure Lockett, is not tied down to a deal with a bunch of guaranteed money. So I'm sure he was getting to the point where he wanted some more bread. And again, I think it makes sense because offensive line was such a glaring need. Defense was such a glaring need. And you don't even have the quarterback to make use of the receivers they had. If you think about it, Metcalf, JSN, and Lockett was sick. That's an unreal trio. But if you don't have the quarterback or the offensive line or the offensive coordinator, because think about it, all that shit needs changing. Geno, Grubb, and the offensive line needed to be upgraded. So I think that just this much turnover for the Seahawks is representative of a philosophy change. If they wanted to continue being the same team, but just get better, then you don't have this much turnover. You add to what you have. They're getting rid of these guys because I think they want to be a different football team next year. And I think it makes sense for them to do that. King brings up a pretty good point. Who's going to get DK? If I were to guess, I'm thinking it's Pittsburgh, LA, or Green Bay. The reason is because Pittsburgh came so close to getting Ayuk. Green Bay has basically the thing is they're in it for a receiver, but they have so many wide receiver 2s and 3s. The whole point of their offseason is if you're going to make a move at the receiver position, you have to get a 1. And DK with T Higgins for getting franchise tag, DK is really the only bona fide 1 now, because I don't think Cup is a 1 anymore. I think you could push it with Green Bay. Sorry, you could push it with Godwin, maybe, if you really want to lie to yourself. But Godwin, off a serious ankle injury in his late 20s, I don't necessarily think he's a 1 either. Also, has he ever been a 1? Because he's always played with Mike Evans. So I say this to say, DK is the only 1. Green Bay, it only makes sense for you to make a receiver move if you get a 1. So I think Green Bay will be there. And then the Chargers, honestly, there's just a lot of media hype for that. So yeah, I'm thinking Pittsburgh, Green Bay, and LA. Man said I'm getting PTSD. Bro, you guys, the Steelers have been after every single receiver, and it always goes wrong. But here's the thing though. It's not that they're wrong about you guys going for the receiver. It's that you always get close but don't get it across the line. Now, that's pretty annoying and pretty shitty, but like, truthfully, I think Metcalf is better than the version of Cup that you would have got, and better than Ayuk, because look what happened with Ayuk. So if you guys get this one over the line, that's a big W, but we'll have to see if that happens. I'm sick of this wide receiver edging. That's facts though. That's what's been happening to you guys, man. That's crazy. Wide receiver edging. I would have never thought I'd see that phrase in my chat. But yeah, man. DK wanted the hell out of Seattle. I wonder how Seahawks fans feel about that. But yeah, there's really no reason for them to have this kind of a start to the offseason if the plan isn't to become a drastically different football team. They have the running backs to do so. Go get an offensive line. Go get a defense. Run out Geno Smith's last year in his contract. You know what? They should draft the quarterback. They should definitely draft the quarterback and hope that they can get some Russell Wilson luck again. But yeah, we're gonna move past Seattle for now. I hope Will turns up in the chat. Will and Anthony's Asphalt, the 2 resident Seahawks fans in this community. But yeah, the next bit of news we're gonna go get into is the Cowboys signing Osa Odigizua. They gave $20 million a year to their defensive tackle that had a breakout year last year, had a bunch of sacks, and pass rushers from the interior. It doesn't matter who you are and what circumstances you get the stats, like what circumstances happen for you to get the stats. If you get pass rush stats from the interior of the defensive line, you're going to get paid. You're going to get paid. Yo, this is so funny though, because so many people had this reaction. Nobody knows who this guy is. I'm seeing that they put him on the Pat McAfee show and they're putting him on Nightcap with Shannon Sharp and Ocho. They have to get him out here because this guy is on America's team. And the Cowboys were so shit last year that everybody missed his breakout year. Oh, I think Osa got like 8 sacks. 8 sacks from the interior is amazing. So he gets $20 million a year. It's just what I find really funny about this is I thought they were going to franchise tag him and just dilly-dally all offseason. I won't chat about the Cowboys. They're run by shit people. This is actually 100% fact. This is 100% true. And Sai is spitting right now. However, you don't have a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel. And talking about the Cowboys generates traffic. So I will talk about the Cowboys. So yeah, nobody knows about this guy, but again, it doesn't matter who you are or what the circumstances are. Now, some people say that basically Michael Parsons demands so much attention, everybody's job is easier. So much like how Milton Williams is going to get a bag because Jalen Carter ate up all the double teams, probably a similar case here. He's a Chiefs fan. So we got more Chiefs fans here. We got like 4 Chiefs fans in the community, man. But yeah, man. Here's the thing. He's a young player coming off his rookie deal, so this is his second contract. He's headed into his peak. That's fine. His production was good. It's a prime position in the NFL. I actually like the contract. I have nothing bad to say about giving Osa this deal. The thing that's weird is like, how did they get this deal done so efficiently, but they dilly dally for everybody else? Like, I thought they would have franchise tagged Osa, let time run until August, and then probably paid him in August. But like, look how long it took for them to pay Dak. Look how long it took for them to pay Zeke. Look how long it took them to pay CeeDee Lamb. Look how long it's taking them to pay Michael Parsons. They talk about edging. Where's the comment? Bro, that's what Jerry Jones does to all his players. Payment edging. And then this is the guy they just decided to take care of immediately. Like, I think the Cowboys really kind of, they pay for the fact that they dilly-dally a lot and they pay people late, right? They have to pay people prime prices or premium prices because, people raise their value. I mean, I think they should take the approach they took with Osa with all their other players. They maybe wouldn't be paying Dak $60 million a year if they just paid him promptly. Probably the same case with CeeDee. Probably the same case with whatever they're going to pay Michael Parsons. But yeah, they paid Osa. He's a good player. I have nothing bad to say about that. But look forward to getting shut down by Dickerson and Jurgens next year, I guess. But yeah, that's the update there. The Chicago Bears, they traded for Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson. They acquired two guards, aka a backcourt. Shitty basketball joke there. But yeah, so Bears moving with some crazy urgency. I actually think this is really, 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 really fascinating because everybody knew the Bears needed offensive line help. Everybody knew they were going to make additions. I did not think they would resort to the trade market this aggressively, but this is a really smart approach. Like, I'm kind of floored by how smart this is. I say that because in free agency, there's not really that many options. I thought they may overpay for somebody in free agency who's good and give him like great money. That's also what tends to happen in free agency. Or I thought they'd overdraft in the draft out of need. Like, the thing is, when teams are desperate the way the Bears are desperate, they normally overdraft or overpay, which is kind of how I saw things happening. And bro, they went into the trade market and they made some efficient trades. Like, Thuney and Jonah Jackson for a 4 and a 6 is good value. Now, obviously, you're going to have to pay those players. But because Thuney's old, you're not going to have to pay him like a stupid bag. Obviously, because he's old, you're not going to have him for that long either. But it gives you some time to draft somebody in the next 2 years. So, like, again, I'm talking about how desperation makes you overdraft players. When you have these two players, you can just go BPA. So, your interior offensive line need is not so bad anymore. So you can wait for the guard prospect you like in the 3rd round. You don't have to force it in the 2nd round. Yeah, I think oddly enough, this trade for Thuney is going to probably put them in a position where they're a little bit smarter about drafting a guard, and they'll probably hit. And when it comes to Jonah Jackson, he'll be playing. He's 28. He's good. The only reason the Rams are trading him is because they were playing Avila at center, and they look at Avila as a guard. So they're kicking their center to guard. Their center that they played last year, a rookie, they're going to ride it out with him. So the thing is that they have no need for this guard. But Bears are paying him 26. Wait, who? Is this Thuney or Jonah Jackson? Because the thing is, if they're paying Thuney 26, let me see. If they're paying Thuney 26 on a 1-year deal, yeah, I'll tag you in at the end. I'm just gonna rip through all the things at the beginning. Like, I'm gonna get through all the news first. Yeah, I got you, bro. Joe Thuney, I'm looking for his contract. I'm seeing 15. Is it Jonah Jackson that they're paying 26? Maybe that's what it is. Let me look it up. Jonah Jackson. Oh. Yeah. That's the Trey Smith franchise tag number. That makes sense. No, these are great ads for the Bears, man. Thuney and Jackson are great. Like, the thing is, here's the thing. The goal is to go into the draft having no positions where you'd be fucked if you don't draft them, right? So the thing is like, if they just even sign an average center, then they can go into the draft and say, look, if we don't draft offensive line, we're not fucked. And if they can, again, just do a little bit of patchwork everywhere on the roster, then you can go into the draft and draft purely off your draft evaluations and your scouts. That's the best way to do this whole draft thing. And I'm not saying that that's what they've achieved, like they've achieved that at 2 spots. They still have a lot more work to do. But this is an uncharacteristically smart move by the Bears, man. Again, you got 2 guards. They have 2 tackles already. They kind of just need a center. And then when it comes to the Bears, right? When I talked about the Ben Johnson hire, my big thing was like, how could he possibly replicate things that he did? Or no, my question initially was, how much of what we saw in Detroit was Dan Campbell versus him? Because if that was all him or all both, right? And that is who Ben Johnson is, I thought he was going to struggle to bring that shit with him, because he's going to have, at best, an above average offensive line, right? He went from an elite line in Detroit to an above average line in Chicago. I thought that would almost be an impediment in him bringing his whole system and his whole philosophy to Detroit, to Chicago. But with these 2 guards, they do have prospects of being a good offensive line. If they figure the center out, if, their 2 tackles are functional, right? Like, they have an opportunity for their offensive line to be a plus point. Now, that brings them closer to the ballpark of what he had in Detroit, which lets him now, like, okay, you know what? I can maybe implement what I had going on in Detroit. So it's good, man, from all angles. I love these 2 moves. I thought they again, uncharacteristically smart. And then the next thing we're going to look at is Max Crosby. So Max Crosby got paid by the Raiders. It's a 3-year deal at, I think, the highest non-quarterback rate in the NFL. I'm going to check that right now. Over the Cap is my favorite website to look at positional stuff. So he got paid at, I think, $35 a year. Yeah, so his contract went up over Nick Bosa's number. So yeah, Crosby, highest paid non-quarterback ever. 3-year deal though. So the thing is like, it's really just a short-term payday. I think it's basically the Raider, Pete Carroll and Tom Brady and them saying, here's the thing. So yes, but also I think they're basically saying like, look, we cannot start this project out trading a player as good as Max Crosby. We have to, like, we can't be like, hey guys, we're serious guys, we're going to turn this around. Step 1, send Max Crosby somewhere else. That's not how you command respect or really like inspire belief. So they could not let him go. But the situation is so dire that you could not possibly keep him without making him one of the highest paid players ever to not throw the football in the game. So we kind of just what had to happen. It's like, it's like earlier in the story of Myles Garrett, in terms of like Cleveland at no point could ever try to be a serious team and trade Myles Garrett. You could never do that. So you have to keep Myles Garrett. But the only way to keep Myles Garrett, given the dire situation that you're in as a team, is making him one of the highest paid players. So yeah, I mean, salute to Crosby. I look forward to the trade request in 2 years, because we know that's going to happen. He's got I think, yeah, 4 years left on his deal generally, but basically 2 guaranteed years. But yeah, again, I understand it from the Raiders standpoint. I understand it from his standpoint. Between him and Wilkins, they have so much money spent on the defensive line. So I imagine they're going to be drafting there. It'll be interesting to see how much money they spend, because they've already signed a guard. So they signed Kappa as well. They signed a starting guard from the Bengals. I mean, imagine looking at the Bengals offensive line and being like, I want some of that. That's kind of crazy. But that's what they did. We'll see how much more money they spend. But like I said, it seems like they want to have an ambitious project, but they're just so shit. It's hard to be ambitious from like the depths that in hell that they're at. Did he get 91? No, you know what it is, bro? Sai. He deserves the money because he's great. And he does, like, the Raiders are so desperate that, like, I understand it. But I, like, you're so bad, you're gonna need money to spend elsewhere as well. Like there's a fine line. At the same time, bro, like they're in such a bad position, they just got to do it. That's the same. Like, you know, he is one of the best edge rushers. You can't let him go. Like whatever he tells you, if he says I want 100 mil guaranteed, not really in a position to tell him no. You're not really in a position to tell him no, man. But yeah, but that's the thing. The other thing is like, he is not a QB. Hold on. How many years is that though? Let me look up Crosby. How many years is that? Because I think he's worth it. Max Crosby. 3 years. Let me see the deal he's on right now. Max. Okay, so he had 2 years left on his deal with 10 mil. So he's gonna have 100 mil guaranteed left on his contract, and is probably going to 5 years term. This is the thing, bro. It locks him in age 28, 29, and 30, which is, I think, the bigger thing. Yeah. He had 2 years left. They're gonna tack 3 years onto it. He had roughly 10 mil guaranteed money left. They're gonna add 91 on top of that. So you're looking at 100 mil guaranteed over 5 years. You're probably through that 100 mil in 3 years. So he's guaranteed to be on the Raiders books 25, 26, and 27. So maybe that trade request hits 27. Who knows how old he is at that point. But yeah, nah, bro, like they had to give it to him. But yeah, we're gonna push forward from them to the Rams. So the Rams paid Matthew Stafford and their left tackle Alaric Jackson. So Rams have spent a bunch of money, but they haven't spent any money getting better. They spent money just staying intact. Obviously, quarterback and left tackle, two premium positions in football. So that makes sense. But yeah, they couldn't lose either of these players. If they lost Stafford, I thought that would have been insane after the year they had last year. It positions them well to, again, be as good as they were last year. But my thing is like, they're gonna trade Cup. They do have to get better still. They have to get what's it called? They have to get a couple front seven players, and I'd say like a couple secondary players as well. Like they're on the brink of being contenders, but they're not quite there yet. I don't think they paid Stafford unreasonably. The exact numbers haven't gotten out, but it sounds like they're just basically chucking more guaranteed money onto his deal. That's cool. Alaric Jackson got like a okay deal. Not a crazy overpay or anything. So these are solid moves. When it comes to the Rams, like I said, I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled on how much more money does it cost to just keep this team together. Cooper Kupp is gonna be gone. I heard the GM actually say today that there's a small chance he returns to the team. If he's back on the team again, I want to see how much more money gets spent on him. Like I said, they got to get better. I think the defense is the main thing. I actually don't think they need to spend that much money offensively. I think if they've always been like so one receiver centric offensively, whether that's Kupp or Puka Nacua, McVay can make do with a cheap supporting cast in the receiving core around Puka. They already have Kyron and Blake Corum. They've solidified their offensive line basically. They were able to trade Jonah Jackson. They have 4 starters, and I think they're going to start Bo Limmers at center. So they have their offensive line. They just got to spend defensively. So we're going to see what they do. Some of these teams are so desperate. Desperation is the name of the game in the NFL. So this is the thing, Sai. Almost every contract signed at this time of year is technically a ripoff because this is the time of year where bidding wars happen, right? free agency is going to happen. Everybody is looking at their options. This is when 4 or 5 teams drive somebody's price up. So every deal, like people that sign contract extensions in training camp and during the year, those tend to be the best deals. It's rip-off season right now. That being said, some rip-offs are worse than the other. I don't think the Rams really got ripped off with either of these deals. They stayed intact. They were a good team, so they were supposed to stay intact. They have a good amount of money to spend, so there's more money to spend. And we'll see what happens. And then I think this is the last bit of news I got. Sam Darnold Euro steps the franchise tag. So I'm going to drop the StreamYard link in the chat for anybody who has comments that they want to add to the end of the stream, because this is the last topic I have for me. But yeah, you have Sam Darnold avoiding the franchise tag, which is what I wanted to see, because I'm truly fascinated by the prospect of his free agency. I think that it's like potentially a disaster waiting to happen for a bad franchise. I also think if he I'm very interested in seeing how does he function outside of KOC's system, because I think KOC is really good at maximizing a quarterback. I'm so fascinated with what he would look like in Tennessee or Vegas. Oh my God, Sam Darnold in a Chip Kelly offense. Let's fucking see it. That's what I'm trying to see. Nah, he Euro stepped the franchise tag, bro. He didn't get it, so he's a free agent. But I didn't want the Vikings to tag him, and now basically if they tagged him, they would have just had him on a 1-year deal, because nobody's gonna trade and pay Sam Darnold. That doesn't make any sense. So I knew that wasn't gonna happen. I really want to see Sam Darnold somewhere else. So that's why I'm happy with this. The fact that here's the thing. I think if they wanted to keep him, the franchise tag is actually the only thing that made sense, right? 1-year deal, you play McCarthy next year, that all works out. Yeah, this is the fact that he's gonna hit the market. I think he's probably gonna cash out from a bad franchise. And like I said, man, I just think it'll be entertaining to see. But yeah, we got Jared entering the chat. What's going on, Jared? Let us know your thoughts.
At first, the Bears did a good job.
What?
The Bears did a good job adding 2 tackles already.
Yeah, no, they had their 2 tackles. They got their 2 guards. That's definitely a good move.
And then the Rams got their QB back.
Yep.
Which I never knew that he was going to leave anyways.
No, so basically what that situation is, and I'll put the name back up. Stafford actually did this last year. Most people don't remember, but
yeah, he did. Didn't he do that last year? Didn't he?
Whenever good players get to the point where they have no guaranteed money left on their contract, because again, every NFL contract is half guaranteed. Once a good player gets to the non-guaranteed part, they always tell the team, I'm not stepping on a football field for no guaranteed money. I'm not putting myself in a position where if I tear my ACL in training camp, in theory, or not necessarily that, but in theory, you could cut me and I get paid nothing. No player who has the leverage to ask for money is going to not ask for money. So Matt Stafford had no guaranteed money last year. He went to the Rams and was like, hey, I'd like some money. They figured it out, threw him a little bit of money, but then he had a really good year last year in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, he got him to the playoffs.
Yeah, got him to the playoffs, played pretty well in Philly. So now he has even more leverage than he had last year. So it
didn't help with the snow.
He went to the Rams and he's like, I want more money. And the Rams said, you know what? We have a young team. We're building for the future. We don't necessarily know how much money we want to give you. So we're going to let you test the open market, go learn that your value maybe isn't that high, and then come back. This is where they kind of fucked up, is the Giants got desperate, because that's what the word is. The word is that
guess what? The Giants missed out.
They truly drove the price up. So basically the Rams at some point, apparently, I think it was last Monday. It was Wednesday.
Or was it Wednesday? Which one of those two?
No, apparently they basically realized fuck, he's actually considering leaving. And then they just they caved, they gave him his number, and now he's back. But I actually talked about this on the last quarterback landscaping stream. I started out saying that hey, the Matt Stafford situation is murky because he had no guaranteed money last year and he almost left because of it. And the same thing could happen this year. But yeah, he's gonna stay. So Stafford and their left tackle, Alaric Jackson, big bags.
Then we
Big
got a
bags.
couple retires, Mason Crosby and Sam Hubbard from the Bengals.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, Mason. You're right. I totally forgot about Mason Crosby. Also, I didn't know he was still kicking. I thought he just was like retired.
No, he was kicking for another team.
Oh, interesting.
And then
Yeah,
Sam Hubbard retired.
right. Yeah, he did.
And then the Seahawks just announced they released Tyler Lockett.
And 5 players before that. Let me actually find the names.
Then what else? The Raiders released Gardner Minshew.
Yep.
And that's when they
what?
paid
That's not
Max
the worst
Crosby.
idea. Let's rip through everything.
My Texans done shit this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's still early, man. It's still really, really early. You don't have to stress too much yet.
Then your Eagles are extending Barkley's contract.
Yep, keeping the main pieces together.
And Zach Braun resigned.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Anyways, I missed that part.
Oh yeah. No, it's good. Like we had to do it. Like we're too good of a team to be letting essential players leave. We have a chance to win a Super Bowl. You may as well pay people. And if it backfires, fuck it. Like you do everything you do to get a good team to have a chance. Now that you have a chance, like why squander it? I appreciate that he's willing to pay people and take the risk.
Are you guys going to resign Sweat though?
Hell no. No, he's gonna get overpaid way too much. Okay.
So you guys letting him go?
Adrian Rosser could cap this in. Nah, but here's the thing. They're gonna lose Cup for sure, but I don't think that's a huge deal because they stopped. They stopped throwing it to Cup last year.
They've been throwing it to Puka Nacua last year.
Puka is him, and also when they had Cup, they stopped throwing to Robert Woods. Like they always focus on one guy. And then the thing is, bro, the Rams is really young. The Rams roster around Stafford is really young.
So isn't the defense?
Yeah. Okay, so real quick, these are the Seahawks that they cut yesterday before Lockett. So Draymond Jones, which they gave a big contract to in free agency. Roy Robertson Harris. I think the rest of these are probably small contracts. But the point is like, dude, they're out here cutting hella guys.
Yeah, like Tyler Lockett. He's been for the Seahawks for 10 years.
Hella guys. And they're trading DK. Seahawks are opening up a lot of money, man. I'm telling you,
I think they're rebuilding.
They are going to sign some defensive players and some offensive linemen. But yeah, so we talked about Saquon, we talked about Osa, we talked about Jonah Jackson. Eagles released James Bradbury. Most people totally forgot that he was even on the team. He tore his Achilles.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
Nobody even said anything. They put him on injured reserve and he started coaching people. I don't know if he's going to retire or not. I don't know. Saints released Jamal Williams, another guy. I think everybody forgot about this guy's existence. When he left Detroit for the Saints, talk about a horrible decision, man.
He should have just stayed with the Lions.
Talk about a horrible decision. They upgraded so quickly, and then he went to just rot in New Orleans, man. Jets cut Devontae Adams. That makes sense. He was making so much unguaranteed money or non-guaranteed money.
Packers re-signed Brandon McCarris to a 3-year deal.
Yeah, McManus got the bag because before McManus, they had just a bunch of kickers that were missing field goals, man.
The Cowboys?
So that was the update for yesterday. I'm gonna pull up the update for today.
Did you see the same Hubbard thing that he retired?
Oh yeah.
Right there.
So the moves today. We already talked about
the
DK,
Jaguars.
We talked about Thuney. We talked about Lockett. Oh, Kirk.
Jaguars cut Christian Kirk. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Wow. Did I not have that banner?
Wow.
Damn. I think.
Why did the Jags cut Christian Kirk?
He was injured all of last year, and he's on a huge contract.
So who's going to sign him?
We're gonna see, man. He's gonna hit the open market. But yeah, the Jaguars. The thing is, they had an issue at the receiver position. They had too many guys, on random contracts. Cut all the Packers signed with the Riders. Good to see you, Gail. Welcome back to the chat. Yeah,
Gail.
The Jets cut all the Packers. They're gonna what's it called? They said they're going to what's it called? They're gonna trade Alan Lazard as well. So they're getting rid of all the ex-Packers.
I think Aaron Rodgers is. I think he's thinking about retiring at the end of the year.
I think he might retire and act like, oh, I decided I'm gonna retire. When really, I think he's gonna realize that the league has passed him by. But yeah, Gardner Minshew. That we talk about him kind of in jest and we make fun of him a little bit, but that's a quality backup quarterback. The fact that people keep wanting to start him is ridiculous. Raiders and Colts like I'm looking at you when I say that, but that's a quality backup quarterback. Somebody's going to be happy with him as a number 2.
Then the Bengals, Sam Hubbard retires.
You mentioned random Bengals news here, but so Sam Hubbard retires, and then the guard that they cut, Alex Kappa, he gets paid like minorly in Vegas, but he's going to start. Again, my thing is who looks at the Bengals offensive line and says, I need some of that? So again, Raiders, I know you guys are under new ownership, not quite, but like Brady's there, Pete Carroll's there. It's supposed to be a different time. Signing a Bengals guard is not a good start, in my opinion.
To be honest, I think the Raiders might go after Devontae Adams. Or not Devontae Adams, Tyler Lockett.
Lockett. Oh yeah, because Pete Carroll, and oh my God, imagine if Pete Carroll signs Lockett and Wilson,
and gets DK Metcalf.
Oh my God, that would be the Raiders have a chance to do the funniest thing. King,
what if that happens?
As a Steelers fan, you have a first-hand up close view how trash the Bengals offensive line is,
and you want their O-line.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, then just to go, I think the last thing we have to look
talked about is Christian Kirk.
So here's the thing. Let's look up Christian Kirk stats. So this is the thing. Hasn't had a good year really since 2022. Ooh, this stat format is tough. Okay. It doesn't say how many games.
He's 27 years old.
I'm thinking ESPN might have a better.
28. I meant 28. And he's experienced 7 years in the NFL. So he's still young.
Year-to-year stats. Okay, here we go.
Okay, I see. Christian Kirk signed a 4-year deal.
Okay, so here's where it is, right? 2021, last year in Arizona, played 17 games, had almost 1,000 yards. 2022, first year in Jacksonville, 17 games, over 1,000 yards. That's when things were good. Then missed 5 games, had 700 yards. That's not the worst. But then last year, he only played 8 games. But in 8 games, having under 400 yards is really rough. So that's the thing is he signed this huge deal in Jacksonville. He really had bad stats. So that's why he's getting cut. So Kirk is probably going to get I don't know. I can see him signing for a Buffalo or a Kansas City or a Baltimore, cheap contract.
Yeah.
Have to recoup his value and then get paid in the offseason again. So yeah, that's what it is, people. We're going to wrap the stream up. We got through all the news. We're going to be doing more of these. So just to update on how I want to do the offseason, I plan to be home as much as I possibly can be during the day for that week of March.
Free agency is coming up.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm trying to be home as much as I can during the day. If I can do a quick live stream reaction like I did to the Deebo Samuel thing, I will. But some days I'll just have to be at work, whatever. Those days I'll basically do this. I'll come home and I'll just do a live stream in the evening. But we're going to be streaming probably every day next week. So tune in. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys hit the like button before we get out of here. And stay tuned because with more of this coming. I'll see you guys around. Take care. I'm out. Hold on. Before I end it, King, the official start date for free agency is March 12th. So Wednesday at 4 Eastern time. That's the official start. But they have the tampering period Monday, March 10th at noon. That's when teams can agree. They can verbally agree and send offers to other free agents. And that's when most things get done. So yeah, Wednesday at 4, that's when things the trades will officially get processed and the people can actually sign people. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. I'm out. Subscribe to the channel, like, all that good stuff.